Hey everyone, welcome back to Matt's Plants. So not done a video in a while, but I wanted to just cover this. So this is my small indoor orchid, begonia, random tropical, whatever, terrarium. I did a video about this some time ago when I redid it, and I redid it again after that. And really just have a look at it because it's quite mature now, it's quite grown in. I'm fairly happy with how things are. And I just wanted to give like a proper rundown of what's in there and how I built it, and have a look at some of the plants, which are slowly taking over. So it's a 30 by 30 cube. It's an animal terrarium designed for sort of insects or tarantulas or possibly small reptiles. I don't keep any sort of wildlife. I've got isopods, but I don't have any isopods in this because I was worried they'd eat the plants. So yeah, just gonna have a quick look. So 30 by 30 cube, and it's lit by a sort of cheap Chinese grow light. They used to be really cheap and a really good deal. Chihiros, they were called, and you could sort of get them on eBay from Chinese, from China, and they were very cheap and very good. They have now, I noticed, become less common and gone up in price. I suppose that's the nature of the world at the moment, but there we go. But it's a 30 centimeter grow light. Balancing on the top there, try not to get any of my horrible office in. So this terrarium sits in my office, where it sort of keeps me amused throughout the day while I'm trying to do my job or whatever I'm trying to do. Just click on the zoom and let's have a look. So a lot of begonia, excuse me, right, so we've got this is Begonia soli-mutata, which tends to overgrow absolutely everything. I've got it growing in a pot in my bathroom, and it does sort of well there as well. It changes sort of shade and colour depending on the light on it. So this is quite almost reddish tint to it. If you turned the light off and left it for a bit, it'd go much greener. It's a beautiful plant nonetheless, and I've always got sort of cuttings available of it. But it needs a serious trim, so that's one of the jobs to do today. Just after I've made this video, I'm going to cut this back. I'm not going to propagate it. Although it does propagate very easily from leaves, just simply because, as I said before, trying to swap or sell these things is just a bit of a nightmare. So another begonia, I have to remember what this is called. Begonia prismatocarpa, I think I'm saying that right. So this is really nice. This climbs and sort of spreads everywhere. It also flowers, which is quite nice at the moment. I can, yeah, the LED is going to give me some jip. Okay. Really light green leaves, does well in high humidity, warm conditions, flowers very well. Also needs a trim because it's spreading sort of up the wall and all over everything. So just on how this is built as well, on the sides I've got this egg crate netting with sort of sphagnum moss shoved into the gaps, which isn't quite as good as I hoped it would be, but it does mean things can grow up there. And at the back I've got coconut like a coconut husk panel, which again was designed for things to grow into it, but kind of didn't really work. But I've got cut little pockets in and shoved things in, like this bromeliad, Cryptanthus, I think, Cryptanthus Red, and this Tillandsia, ionantha, possibly. So they're just like, I've made a cut with a standing knife and just sort of shoved them in there, and they get watered. So other begonia that are growing mad in here is this, which is the Begonia Foliosa, which I had a cutting off. Was one of my few successful trades actually on Facebook. A lady sent me a very small cutting of this, and it grows insanely well in these conditions. Really pretty leaves, very small, scrabbling plant. But you see, it just grows everywhere. So these are always popular. This is Begonia, I'm going to mispronounce this as well, Amphioxus, something like that. Everyone loves those because obviously they're the weird red spots. That is a trooper. I've made some cuttings of it and they're doing okay, but they're for me because I have a distressing tendency to sort of kill it periodically. This has been cut back and restored several times. It gets too big in here, and then I cut the top off it. It goes straggly. Cut the top off it, and then it goes, either sulks and grows back, or I have to restore from a cutting, like restore from a backup. There's a Begonia Pavonina down there. That's staying small. I think that's struggling with the competition, but it's again very pretty. So in here as well, underneath the begonia, this is like an epiweb branch, fake tree branch, made of something called epiweb. The idea is, I've seen these with moss growing on them, and they look really cool. But I think you have to sort of keep them very, very moist, well moistened. So this gets sprayed every day, and the moss is kind of doing okay where I spray it, and then not doing well, and sort of doing well down in the darkness down there, but not doing that well the rest of the time. We've got orchids on this, so the other thing is orchids are supposed to grow well on it as a replacement for like a corkbark branch or something. So this is a, oh god, it's a pleurothallid, which is obviously what I grow in my cool tank, but this one allegedly copes with the warmth. I'm reading this now because I can't remember, Zootrophian Atropurpurium. So it's grown fine, it does okay, but it's never flowered. But I've got two, divisions of it growing on the branch. I'm kind of got high hopes for it. Bromeliad down there, not doing tremendously well. Nerogelia, I think. Again, another Cryptanthus Red hiding down there. I've got Selaginella serpens, which is the one that kind of goes white if it gets dark or when evening rolls round. So that's very cool. I really got that. I got that from a seller in Germany back when we could still do such things before Brexit and the absolute cluster mess that the government made of it. Jewel orchid. It kind of doesn't really do a lot in there, but it's very pretty. I did have another one of those somewhere. I don't know where it went. There's no, the name's gone. I can't remember. It's related to the African violet. It's Schoenorchis species. Really nice white flowers on it. I grow that as a houseplant more commonly, but it splits out really easily, so I put a division in there. And it has flowered in there. It does quite well. Again, I think it's getting a bit swamped by Begonia and the Begonia and the Begonia. So trim all those back and hopefully it'll do better. And on the sides, we've got some more orchids. So we've got this, Schoenorchis, something. Now, I can't remember what this is. It's either Aerangis or a similar African species. It struggled. When I first got it, I remounted it, and it hated me for it. But it seems happier, and I'm not going to move it, and fingers crossed it will do something. It's had a lot of new root growth on it, and it seems to have established on its cork bark. So we're going to hold on to it and hope that it does something. This is an Aerangis, I think. This did flower. I didn't do a video on that, but really beautiful flowers. Very delicate, white, almost blue flowers on it. So that's what those are. They're the sort of dead spikes. So that did really, really well. Seems happy enough on its cork, which is how I bought it. The moss has grown up. I'm hoping that doesn't swamp it. I might pull some of that off just to make sure. But really delicate, interesting little orchid. I'd like some more of those. I may have to, spend some money. We've got this, I want to say Bulbophyllum. So this, or Dendrobium maybe. This has got a lot of new root growth, died back as they do in the winter. That's what Dendrobium. Yeah, it must be a Dendrobium. A lot of new root growth, and then obviously starting to push out new growth now. So fingers crossed. Also down, there is a Bulbophyllum down there. Yeah, on the epiweb log. So that didn't do very well. It fell off its mount, which didn't really help. I don't know. It's not dead, but it ain't doing very well. The moss is their aquarium species grown in tissue culture. I couldn't tell you which moss it is. I've got several of those that get bunged in various things. I think I've almost run out now. Time for some more. Now this is really nice. I bought this not realising quite how big it was. It's an orchid named after a Shakespearean character. It's Oberon. I can't remember what it's called. Oberon. I got it written down. Let me just check my notes. Typically I can't find it. Oberonia titania. There you go. So named after two Shakespearean characters. This is growing really, really well. There's a cork bark mount. It's quite low, which is a shame. So the roots got really long roots on it. So I didn't quite realise how big it was when I bought it. But it's growing good. That's very new growth on it. There's new growth down there as well. The roots dangle quite happily. Fingers crossed we're going to get some flowers on it. I'm quite excited by that if it does something. What else? There's other things, so many other things in here. As I say, Selaginella down at the bottom, the serpens. Yeah. I think that's just about it. So everything's growing quite nicely. What I'm going to do now is seriously hack back the Foliosa. Seriously hack back the soli-mutata. I'm sorry, that just goes crazy. Pretty, and like I said, I've got a houseplant version of that grows quite nicely in the bathroom as well. And I think I've given some of that away to some friends of mine. And yeah, cut back the prismacarpa as well. Oh, there's various other things in swamped by the begonia. Another orchid is the epidendrum. I want to say epidendrum. Epidendrum porpax, yeah. I've got that growing in my cool tank, in the Highland tank, with all my pleurothalids, and it's flowered there and it seems to do okay. But it doesn't seem fussy with its conditions. It's growing, and considering how swamped it is, it's doing just fine down there. I'll give it some more light and hopefully it'll do a bit better. But yeah, so this is done really well. At the bottom, so the substrate at the bottom that's got some of the begonia growing in and the Selaginella growing in is something called... Now, I've said before, I really like hydroponic shops, and if you see some of my hydroponic videos, it's something I play around with. But Tropic Mix from a hydroponic shop I found is really, really good for growing a lot of begonia. It's basically very similar to the mix I was making anyway, but comes pH balanced with some low-level nutrient in. And it seems to do just fine for quite a lot of tropical plants. I mean, I'm sure, you know, a lot of soils would be good. But I bowled down to the local grow shop and buy Tropic Mix. They've never asked me what I'm growing in it. But I suppose people in those sort of shops don't tend to ask you what you're growing in case someone answers them. I think they'd be amazed if they knew I was growing, you know, some of this stuff. But yeah, they're a great resource, hydroponic shops, for nutrients, for interesting soils, living soil, as well as lights and stuff. As I say, this is a cheap light off eBay. All of these things are relatively low light species. They don't need a great deal of light, which is what you'd get from the grow shops. Their lights tend to be very good at, well, let's say growing large flowering plants that need a lot of light. That's a hobby for another time, maybe. Anyway, so yeah, this is my little 30 by 30 indoor terrarium that sort of keeps me busy, gives me something to look at while I'm at work. And hopefully I've not filmed too much of my filthy desk in the background. Okay, everyone, thanks very much. Take care. Please like and subscribe. I know I don't really like saying that, but I've been doing these YouTube videos since the start of lockdown, and it'd be nice to get a bit more exposure before I give up entirely. All right, thanks everyone. Take care. Till next time. Bye now.